I actually can't believe I'm sitting here about to talk about what I'm going to talk about. It feels like it didn't happen. If you want to hear me talking about my COVID experience, all my symptoms, because I'm not going to scrimp any details, my experience with hospital and contracting COVID pneumonia and getting blood clots on both lungs, then just keep watching. I've got notes on my phone. I have got tips and tricks as well if you do have COVID and you're watching this video. Don't get freaked out. It is scary what has happened to me, but I'm here now to tell the tale, so that's positive in itself. I keep looking over there just because I can't focus. I can't focus. I don't know where to start. Let's start with when I got COVID. I had a hair appointment on the 20th of April. On the 22nd of April, I filmed a fake tan routine. And then I got into bed and I just started coughing, and my boyfriend was already asleep next to me. I just thought, this dry cough, questionable. At that moment, no joke, at that moment that I started with the cough, my hairdresser texted me saying, everybody at the salon has just been tested positive. So I was like, shit, I knew it straight away. I knew that I had COVID. I just could feel it in my body. It was such a weird experience, and I'm not dramatic. I am a little bit. I'm enthusiastic, but I'm not over dramatic. It actually felt like I was hosting a monster. Not to freak you out if you've got it or you've not had it yet and you're scared to or anything like that. My experience was horrific. I could feel almost like the energy of the virus, if that makes sense, inside me. It was awful. But obviously I didn't know I had it yet, so I went to sleep that night. It was quite late. I was thinking, for God's sake, I wasn't worried because obviously I didn't expect to be as ill as I was. Next day I woke up and I said to my boyfriend, I think I've got COVID. My hairdresser has just texted me saying that she's done an at-home test, just a lateral flow, and it's come back positive. I was like, right, look, I'm gonna get a PCR test today. We booked it straight away and I went and had it. At that point I only had like a tickly dry cough. It wasn't that bad. Little did I know what I was in for. Yeah, I got to the test centre. I think the first appointment was at 11. I'm literally going to tell you everything because normally I just kind of skim over stories, but I think that it's quite relevant, so even if it's not, sorry. I did my test. Obviously it's horrible, and I was in the car. The car next to me reversed, and the car next to that was my hairdresser. I just knew I had it. I did a lateral flow test at home as well, because by this time you could get access. I think it was like the week you could go to the pharmacy and get the lateral flow kits for home. It's like the faintest line ever, but it was positive. My boyfriend did one at that moment and his was negative. We just knew that he was gonna get it, and I was saying to him, look, you might as well get it now and then we can like ride it out together. It seemed like a good idea. Obviously I didn't want to give it to him. I thought if he's gonna get it, he might as well get it while I've got it, just so I don't have to isolate and miss out on work. More work. Anyway, a day and a half later I got a confirmation text saying that I have officially got it. Then we isolated for 10 days. So symptoms, right, let me just check. Okay, I've got a list of my symptoms here. For me, I think there was only one symptom out of all the symptoms you could get that I didn't have, and that was physically sick. At times I felt physically sick, but that was more because the cough was just annoying me so much. I'm gonna go through the symptoms that I did have. I had a fever. I was hot. I was sweating. I had a temperature, a really high temperature, because obviously I was so feverish. I got a rash in between my boobs. I had to have the window constantly open. Also, I had to be really careful with what I was watching on my laptop. I was watching Netflix, I was watching YouTube, I was watching loads of stuff obviously because I didn't have anything else to do and I was bedbound. But I call it fluff, like innocent stuff that won't mentally make you feel crazy, because I feel like my brain was like extra sensitive and I was really susceptible to dreaming vividly. Whatever I watched just before I went to sleep, I'd almost be like reliving that just like on repeat, like not like a dream. It was weird. It's really hard to explain. You just feel very oversensitive. My mum said that she felt the same because she had it last year. I was up anyway with my cough and going to the toilet and things like that, but my mind was just crazy. Speaking of when I got up and went to the toilet, all I could do was drink water at the time because I totally lost my taste and appetite. awful. I'll get into that in a moment. So I was going back and forth to the toilet, and it's only across the landing, but there's like stairs that go like that, so it goes down, up, and then across. So that just seemed like the biggest mission ever, just doing that little to the landing. When I was in the toilet a few times, I completely blacked out, where everything went black and I just passed out onto the floor and I had to like crawl. So yeah, that happened. I had zero energy, like my body just felt heavy and achy, like I'd done the biggest workout ever. I was just lying there, felt like lead, like it was the most difficult thing to move. It was, I keep saying, it was awful. So I stayed in bed the whole of my isolation / longer. I slept as much as I could because I just thought like my body needed to heal, and I'm so on the go all the time, like I don't stop even on my days off. I cram as much as humanly possible into each day. I thought this is my body's way of saying like chill. So I just tried to sleep as much as I could on my stomach. Lay on your tummy because your lungs can expand better and they can heal more quickly when you're on your tummy. Yeah, that is a very important thing, and I'll reiterate that later. So I was really out of breath like the whole of my isolation, more so towards the end. Even going to the toilet and getting back in bed, I'd be like and I told you, it's literally over there. Right, let's just say I was running every single morning before I got COVID. I was in a routine. At the time, I was probably the healthiest and fittest I've been in a very, very long time, which I think worked in my favour later on. Oh God, sod's law. So I actually came on my period the second day that I was confirmed to have COVID. So it was like a horrendous double whammy of just feeling drained. I had the worst period pain. Obviously I had to keep getting up and going to the toilet for that as well, and I just couldn't be asked to get out of bed, so I just was like, this is perfect timing. Ah, typical. So my cough, I felt so sorry for my neighbours and the whole street for that reason, because the windows were open because I was so hot. I was just coughing and wheezing and rattling. It actually sounded worse than it was. It felt bad. It was annoying and constant and irritating for me, but it sounded so much worse. My poor boyfriend, he stayed in the spare room and I felt so bad, but he was really cold. So he did get COVID. I felt so bad because I was like, you might as well get it. And then when he got it, I was like, shit, I feel so bad. He got it and he was poorly, but nothing like I was. He was cold, I was hot, so hence why. I mean, I was annoyed with my cough anyway, but hence why we're in different beds. Every time he walked into this bedroom, he was freezing. He was like, it's so cold in here. And he'd have hot water bottle, dressing gowns on, the lot, and I was the opposite. So it's just crazy how it affects everybody differently. He lost his smell and taste, and I think he had a bit of a cough. He'll probably tell you that it was a lot worse than I'm like letting him out to be, but compared to what I went through, it's nothing. So he had it lightly. He's fully recovered now, he's fine. He was out of breath for a bit when he went back to work after isolation, but nothing bad at all. Just like he'd been poorly. And then the last symptom that I had, which I wasn't going to mention, but I just thought I might as well be completely honest, I got diarrhea. So again, another reason why I was back and forth over the landing, getting out of breath. My body felt drained because I was on my period, because I was like obviously going to the toilet so much. The fact that I couldn't eat, like I have never lost my appetite in my life, and I would never want to lose my appetite ever again. I was so hungry, but I didn't fancy anything. When I had something in front of me, I couldn't eat it. I couldn't taste it, you know, like it was awful. I was just thinking, what the hell, like if this never comes back, like my life is ruined, genuinely. One night, we were watching something in bed and my boyfriend brought some Haagen-Dazs up and I couldn't eat that. I could eat ice cream for breakfast, lunch and dinner normally, like I couldn't eat it. There was something wrong. A few tips and tricks that helped me when I had COVID. Number one, lay on your tummy as much as you can. Like I said, it expands your lungs, it helps them repair, it helps you breathe. That is the number one thing, lay on your tummy. Take paracetamol. I was having probably 2 paracetamol every 4 hours and just drinking a lot of water. Drink lots of fluids, orange juice, get your vitamins in, herbal teas, like hot liquids as well. I was drinking a lot of lemon, like hot lemon water, or even cold lemon, and put a little bit of honey in there. It's really good for your throat. Eat more food than I did, because I must have lost like 1.5 stone in 3 weeks. When I'd FaceTime my mum and stuff, like my cheekbones would be sticking out. I've put all the weight back on now and more, by the way, so don't worry about it. Oh, also I was steaming a lot. That was such a good tip, because all I wanted to do was get up, steam myself. So I just got a bowl of water, like boiling water, and a towel, and I'd like breathe it in and out. Have plenty of baths. Baths really helped me. It was so nice. Again, the hot water. All my days consisted of was steaming as much as I could, trying to clear my chest, having hot baths and watching stuff on my laptop, and then just repeating all that and trying to get as much liquid and paracetamol in me as possible. To be honest with you, I wish I'd documented it a little bit more, actually having COVID. I did take some Instagram stories, so I'm gonna insert them here just so you get a gist of what I looked like, what I sounded like, because as ill as I was, I didn't actually look that bad. It might be because I did my FaceTime video at the start of this hell. Here are the clips from my Instagram stories for you to have a little watch of if you've not seen them. Hello. Little update. I have left the house today for the first time in 2 weeks. I went for a walk around the park and I was so out of breath, like it's actually worrying. Like I can't even walk down the stairs without like losing my breath completely. This is the most ill I have ever been in my whole life. I didn't think it'd affect me this much. It really has floored me. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So I'm hoping that the end is nigh. But yeah, I'm just struggling to breathe. So yeah. Alright, so let's get into the bit where things escalated. Like I said, me and my boyfriend isolated for 10 days. Unfortunately, we've got a park outside. We tried and I was so out of breath, like even getting from one bench to the next, like gasping for my breath. The next day I'd try and like walk down and back up a few steps and I'd be even worse, just desperate to get home and back to bed. So my boyfriend was like pretty much completely recovered by this point. The fact that I was basically not recovering was a concern, more to him at that point than it was to myself. I just thought it was totally normal, even though I should have been recovering. So he made me ring 111 and I'd already spoke with the team. I feel like they ring you like pretty much every other day just to check on how you are anyway. Your track and trace once you've had your PCR and sent all your details over, which is a bit annoying. I know they have to do it, but when you're recovering, you really can't be asked to speak to anyone. I rang 111 and I explained my symptoms. They made me answer so many questions, and even answering the questions, I couldn't catch my breath. Just talking, like sat down, and I'd been sat down for ages. I'd not been anywhere. Like even just talking, I was like getting my words out. It's so bad actually looking back. I got an appointment and it was like a clinic. It was like an outpatient. I had to wait outside in the car and I got a phone call saying, I'm just gowning up, meet me at the door, wear your mask. Said bye to Michael. Didn't really expect not to see him so long because I didn't think I was that poorly, but anyway. She did my blood pressure. I had my oxygen levels checked and yeah, they were in the 70s. Just for reference, they should be in the hundreds. If you've got COVID or had COVID, then they should be in the late 90s. The doctor actually thought that the machine had broken because my oxygen levels were so low. So she tried another machine and it said the same thing. And she said, if you didn't come in today, you probably wouldn't have woken up tomorrow. Like, what the... In that same breath, she rang for an ambulance and the ambulance came and the paramedics attached me to oxygen. Well, actually, the doctor had already put me immediately on this oxygen tank and they swapped me over to theirs to take me off in the ambulance. God, it literally sounds like I'm making this up or I've read it in a book now that like I'm on the other side. They were really surprised too how low my oxygen levels were showing, because I had like clear nail varnish on, so my nails looked quite healthy and I didn't have any tan on or anything, but to look at, I didn't look that poorly. Like, looking back at the videos, I looked rough, but I didn't look like shit, call an ambulance, she might die tomorrow, which is very, very scary. And it's one thing that you really need to look for if you are struggling with your breathing and recovery after COVID. They actually told me that you can buy a monitor that goes on your finger from Amazon, and they're like £15, super cheap. You can buy one of those to track your stats, and if it drops, obviously then you know to call an ambulance or to go like I did and casually get a checkup. So I got to hospital. I was like wheeled around on a wheelchair, and God, it's literally crazy. I feel like I'm making it up. They put a cannula in my hand straight away. I got put on a bed behind this like plastic curtain. I didn't really register what was going on at that point. The machine behind me was driving me insane. It felt like there was something going on with my body. This machine was bleeping like crazy to get people's attention, and everyone behind this see-through curtain was just walking past. I thought, okay, nothing major's happening because no one's running to see to me, so I'm just like gonna have to deal with this. I was so thirsty as well. I remember I took my clear Starbucks cup with my straw and I couldn't reach it, and I was like, please have some water, and she kept giving me like a shot of water. I'm so thirsty, and I had to try and lie on my tummy as much as possible, but then, oh my God, it was a nightmare as soon as I got in there because I didn't know what was going on. I am quite chilled in general, and I kind of took it all in my stride, and I was just like, this is fine. Looking back, it wasn't, but at the time I felt like things were under control, even though they really weren't. They arranged for me to have a x-ray in bed, so they brought this whole machine over to me, x-rayed me. Straight away they were like, yeah, you've got pneumonia. They injected me in my tummy just to treat me in case I had blood clots. I was taking oral medication. I had a cannula in my hand too, so they kept injecting things into that. Then, once they knew what was wrong with me, I got moved in the bed like wacky races down the corridor to the COVID ward, into a side room. One of the doctors, she was so nice, and I'll always remember her because at that point I did feel scared. I was talking to her saying, you know, like, I'm running every day, like I don't understand why I'm not recovering. And she was like, my husband had it and so did I, but he runs marathons and he was really, really poorly with it. So that actually made me feel better and like a little bit of hope to cling on to. And I was like, is he running again? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, oh. All I wanted to do was like get myself fit at that point. The fact that I had COVID was really annoying because I was doing so well. She explained to me, she was so lovely, so calm and just considerate about my emotions. She explained to me that I needed special breathing apparatus and I had to get moved from the side ward to the respiratory unit, which had been closed for 3 weeks because there just wasn't any patients poorly enough for that unit at the time, which is great because COVID has dipped right now. It did dip at the time. I felt bad because they had to open this ward especially back up for me, but I also felt good because I knew that I was gonna get the best care and the best equipment to help me with my breathing. It's actually making me feel really sad. Oh God. Oh, I knew I'd get emotional about this. It's so scary looking back. I'm trying to keep myself busy since getting out of hospital, but like talking about it is just like bringing it all back. Oh my God. I knew I was gonna get upset. I knew it. Anyway, I got moved to the respiratory unit. I had like a whole team of nurses and doctors. I was so well looked after. Yeah, I was on this machine. I'll insert a clip here of what it looked like. It felt like some form of torture device. The strap goes across your head and it is a big mask and it's strapped up underneath as well. And it's got this like tube on it. But when the air goes into it, when you breathe in, it makes this like raspberry farting noise constantly. So if it's not tight enough, it makes this farting noise. So they kept having to like come over and tighten it up if it made that noise. But what it does is it like suppresses your breath. It actually helps open up your lungs somehow. It feels like you're short of breath. You can't fully breathe in and fully breathe out. It's like little shallow breaths rather than what you feel like you should be doing, even though it's helping. With that equipment as well, the best thing to do, as I said before and as I'll keep saying, is lie on your tummy. They couldn't reiterate that enough. That is the main piece of advice. If you've got COVID, try and stay on your tummy. This is where it gets a little bit traumatic, because one of the doctors came over and fitted into my wrist. All my bruises have gone. I did have like 4 holes there where he sewed this like artery, I call it an artery tap. Basically my veins are shit, like you can't take blood from it, it takes ages and it comes out so slowly. This thing goes straight into your artery in your wrist. It's like a tap, so they can just take blood from you like as and when, because I was having so many blood tests that they had to just keep coming over every couple of hours and check in. It was absolutely traumatic, like worse than getting a cannula fitted in your hand, which I had a few of them done as well, which also were a disaster because your arm can blow up. Oh god. God, I can't even think about it. I'm not squeamish. I actually enjoy watching getting my blood taken. If that goes through, I'm sorry. I actually find it fascinating, so I was watching, but watching that and he was like sewing it in to my wrist. Yeah, that was bad. I was like, what is going on? Side note as well, as soon as I got into hospital, my appetite and taste came back with a vengeance, which I was so happy about, but I'm normally a vegetarian. I didn't tell them that, and all this food kept coming in. It was like sausage dinners, chicken dinners and everything, but my body just wanted it. I just felt so frail. I'd been in bed for like 2 weeks and my legs just looked so skinny. My muscles looked like they shriveled up. I know, I must have been in bed for longer than that, maybe like coming up 3 weeks. At that point, I was put on 2 forms of antibiotics, one to treat the COVID and another one, I don't know what that was for actually. And then I was on vitamin D tablets once a week. Oh shit, I'm supposed to say them this morning. I was on nightly blood thinning injections. One of the nurses would come round and inject me in my tummy. My tummy was green with bruises. It was so sad and so pale, so it looked worse. Just to talk about the respiratory unit as well, the doctors and nurses that listened to me, I was just so thankful. One of the nurses, she actually massaged my legs and my feet for like what felt like 2 hours one day. She was really enjoying it too, so I wasn't stopping her anytime soon. That was another thing actually when I was in bed with COVID before I went into hospital. My legs felt really achy, my calves. So that is actually a sign of blood clots, I think, as well, because I just hadn't done any exercise. I guess my muscles were deteriorating. So when I had that full-on breathing equipment on my face, I couldn't eat or drink at all. So every time I needed to drink, I'd have the tubes up my nose and I'd just have a break from that machine. I remember one time I was like, oh, can I have a break now please? And they were like, yeah, of course. And then they were like, you don't have to go back on that, we'll wean you down to that now. That was amazing. Then I stayed on the tubes up my nose on quite a high percentage of oxygen, and then they just weaned me off it then, which was promising. So quickly to talk about the toilet. There was one toilet across the corridor, quite a walk because I was so weak. Yeah, it was quite a way away, and I had to kind of stay in bed as much as I could because I was strapped up to the heart monitor machine, and I also was strapped up to my cannula and my artery tap at that point, so I couldn't really get up and out of bed. I had to use a commode, which, if you don't know what a commode is, it's like a chair with a cardboard bedpan, like a potty basically. You gotta do what you gotta do. Too much information. A few days after, when my oxygen was weaned down, I was able to take one of the oxygen tanks, so I was always attached to the oxygen. Always, the whole time I was in hospital. I was attached, it was like one of the diving tanks. It was huge, it was really heavy as well, so one of the nurses would have to carry it in for me. Same if I wanted a wash. I'll insert a clip of the shower cap that goes in the microwave. I've never looked so disgusted in my whole life. But I'm willing to share these clips with you just so you can see my story, and hopefully it will help you or somebody that you know. Oh, I haven't mentioned this. Okay, so at around 2 or 3 AM one night while I was in the respiratory unit, another patient came in and they were being so loud. There was lots of shouting and screaming and fighting with the doctors and nurses. I think she was confused. That disturbed me obviously and woke me up. So I was in and out of sleep the next day. But this new patient, she was opposite me. She kept pulling the breathing equipment out. I kept being like, she's pulled a tube out again. But she was really poorly. She had a lot of underlying health issues. Unfortunately, she passed away, and her family were able to come and say the goodbyes, and she had almost like a goodbye ceremony on FaceTime with the rest of her family that couldn't make it. The curtain was pulled across, but it was an emotional day and absolutely heartbreaking to witness, as you can imagine. My heart goes out to her and her family, and obviously everybody and their families that have lost a loved one through COVID. Seeing it just made it feel so much more real. After a day on my own, after that lady passed away, I then got weaned down even more to a lower percentage oxygen. They were able to move me down to the COVID ward in a little side room. That was good news because obviously I was getting better, and all that they needed to do was then monitor all my stats rather than fully support me on this machine. Although it was positive, it was such a shock to the system. Being surrounded by such a big team of doctors and nurses to then being in a room on your own with a buzzer if you needed any assistance. I felt so lonely and so low. I've never been that lonely in my whole life. I wasn't able to have my friends and family or boyfriend visit me the whole time I was in hospital because it's a COVID ward and yeah, not allowed visitors. I didn't know that I was going to be going to hospital at all. I literally had a bag for life with me. I've got so many nice suitcases, so many nice toiletries if this situation was to ever arise, and I had a bag for life and I was using people's leftover shampoo and conditioner. So embarrassed. I just didn't know I was going to be in there, let alone for as long as I was. My boyfriend was able to meet the nurses in the car park and drop off clean clothes and things like that. And magazines and chocolate for me, which was nice. Not being able to see them in real life really hit home by then. I think I'm about 5 days in to being in hospital when I got moved. So I was in the respiratory ward for 5 days and then 5 days in the normal COVID ward in the side room. The next 5 days was frustrating because it felt very, very long and lonely, but also my recovery was getting better. It was taking ages for my oxygen levels to regulate and get better. It was very frustrating because my body felt able, but I was attached to these machines that as soon as I'd move, like even sit up out of bed, the oxygen levels would just plummet. It was really confusing for me. I felt like panicking. I thought, oh my god, am I going to be obsessed forevermore about my oxygen levels? But what is good to remember is even when you do move about or go for a run or run down the stairs or up the stairs, your oxygen levels naturally drop anyway when you're out of breath. Because you don't know that or think about it, you don't really relate it to being in that situation. I was overthinking it a lot, especially because I was on my own. At one point as well, when the nurses came and did their observations on me, one of them dropped off like a portable finger monitor so I could check my oxygen level stats myself, and it would beep constantly. It was very annoying. If I've got a clip, I'll insert it here. Just got this little machine on, which is like constantly beeping at me, telling me my stats. I was obsessed with it. I think there was like a whole day people were FaceTiming me and they were like, that's so annoying. I was like, I've literally had it on my finger all day. I was like fascinated by it, but not in a good way. Like honestly, it became an obsession. One of the nurses came in and took it off me because I just couldn't stop watching it. I had a little telly actually in the side ward and I never watched daytime telly. Oh my god. It was crazy because I was so bored. I was beyond bored, to be honest. I couldn't be bothered to do anything, if that makes sense. And I was very, very emotional. Like I couldn't stop crying just because of what I'd witnessed, of what I was around as well, because there was 4 ladies, like middle-aged ladies in the main COVID ward just where I was. I could hear them shouting for help, and yeah, it was a very distressing time. So I was distracting myself with my miniature telly and trying to sleep as much as I could really, again on my tummy. And obviously the nurses would come in every so often to take my blood pressure, give me my injection in my tummy, give me my antibiotics and other tablets, refresh my water, and obviously feed me. Some of the days that I was in there on my own, I literally felt like I was just waiting for my next meal. I was just hungry all the time. Like I said, my appetite came back with an absolute vengeance, but also I just wanted to eat through boredom. The food was really good actually. I was very impressed. Going back to how I felt, yeah. I had the worst anxiety one night. I remember I was trying to sleep, and because I'd not seen my family or my boyfriend for so long, my mum used to stroke in between my eyebrows and my eyebrows like this when I was little, and I was stroking in between my eyebrows pretending to be my mum one night. I just couldn't rest. I honestly kept thinking that I was gonna die, and I just felt so lonely and almost, oh my god, I'm gonna get upset again. I felt like, what have I achieved? Like, what have I actually got in my life? Obviously, I've got my friends and family and my amazing boyfriend and my teddy bear Puff. But I was like, I need a dog. Like, I love dogs. I want my own dog. And am I gonna die without having a baby? Like, that just kept popping into my head, and I just felt like, is this it? I literally did. I didn't think I was getting out of there, honestly. I thought I was gonna die. The toilet from my side ward was literally like 5 or 6 steps out the door, but they wouldn't let me go without my oxygen still. I kept having to take the tank in and out of the bathroom, which was fine, and I was used to it by then, but it just felt like, I feel capable of going to the toilet. Do you know what I mean? I just felt like frustrated that my oxygen just wasn't improving. Also, when I was on the side ward, I felt able enough to have a shower. Again, I took my oxygen with me into the shower, and there was a chair as well in the shower because I'd not really been walking much, so I was very weak and unsteady on my feet. I felt like a frail old lady. It's crazy. And because I'm on these blood thinning injections, I cut my leg when shaving, and it was literally like a murder scene. Trust me to do that on blood thinners. Got a massive scar down my leg now, which I'm trying to get rid of because I do not want to be reminded of this time. But yeah, God, I just needed to have a shave, have a freshen up, wash my hair properly. Yeah, I was able to, and I felt so much better. Clean clothes. I did that a couple of times while I was in there, but to be honest, all I wanted to do was just sleep. I just felt depressed. I felt lonely. I just felt like it was the end, in all honesty. I just wasn't improving. Well, I was, but very slowly. It just felt like never ending, like I was going to be in there forever. The doctors and nurses kept saying, oh, you'll be out tomorrow, and then they'd be like, oh, we need you in 3 more days. Oh, we need you in 3 more days. And then it'd be like, oh, you might be out by the weekend, but it was only like Wednesday by that point. It just felt like an ongoing thing. And when I was in the respiratory unit as well, a few of the blood results came back, basically indicating that I had clots on my lungs. So they wanted me to have a CT scan, but because I had been treated for the blood clots anyway through the blood thinning injections, ever since I got into the hospital, it wasn't an emergency because I was already on the treatment. But because they'd mentioned a CT scan to me, just so it'd be on my records, I pushed for it because it kept getting cancelled, which was frustrating because I just kind of wanted to know for definite that I did have blood clots on the lungs because it sounds frightening. And when I found out as well, I was just a mess. Like, I couldn't stop crying. I thought, what next, you know? Like, my body is fit and healthy. At least I thought it was. Like, I just didn't expect any of this to happen. So that was when I was in respiratory. So days later, when I was in the side ward, I kept asking different doctors that came in, like, am I having this CT scan? Anyway, one day I got my way and they were able to give me a scan. It's an experience. So just before then, my appointment for that, I'd had all my cannulas removed because I didn't need any more injections through liquid in my hands. I just was having them orally through tablets. But they needed to put another one in me because they needed to inject some liquid that showed up the clots in my body through the scan. Had to get another cannula put in. I was literally bruised like everywhere. My skin was so pale as well, I was literally green. Got wheeled to my appointment, and it's like a tube. It's like a circle in a bed that moves, that they push you into, and you just breathe in and out. They inject this fluid into you and it shows up where you've got the clots. But it's such a strange sensation. It feels really warm throughout your body. You can literally feel it. It feels like it's coming from here, but it'll be coming from my hand. It just shoots through your body like a warm sensation, almost like you've weed yourself, but you don't, and it doesn't come out of anywhere. It just feels like a hot internal sensation. So weird. I had my results back a couple of days later, and they confirmed that I did have blood clots on both lungs. So now I'm on a apixaban medication for 3 months, and then they're going to maybe renew it depending on what the future scans say. But I have one on a morning and one at night time. At least it's an oral injection now and not the at least it's an oral tablet now and not an injection, because they were awful. By this time anyway, with my little monitor, I was like stretching in bed. I was getting up out of bed too, because I wasn't strapped to the oxygen. I had like a little oxygen tank that I could move around with me. I'd go up and down the corridors, I'd go around the bed. I was just trying to move because it had been so long. It had been nearly a month at this point that I'd been in bed, and I just felt like my body was deteriorating. I looked skinny, even though all I've been doing is eating. I looked skinny, especially my legs and my muscles, so I thought, right, we need to get this moving, but at the same time, in slow-mo, taking it easy. I think I've mentioned everything about the hospital. If you've got any questions about the hospital part, just DM me on Instagram. That's probably the best way to contact me. A couple of days after my CT scan, day 10 of being in hospital, one of my favourite nurses, she came in and told me that I could go home that evening, and honestly, I probably did the most ugly cry. I just like burst. Like this emotion just burst out of me, and I was just like, oh. She was like, why are you crying? I was like, I'm just so happy. I actually filmed it on my story. I'll insert it here. Cringe. I've just been told that I can go home. I'm allowed to go home this evening. But I'm so overwhelmed. I really don't know what to say or think. I honestly didn't think I was gonna get out of here. It's been so scary. I just had to wait for my medication, which took ages, took a few hours, and then I was able to arrange for my boyfriend to come and pick me up. I rang him and he came and they wheelchaired me out with my bag for life. Honestly, like, I was an emotional wreck for like 48 hours. I could not stop crying. It was such a culture shock to even be like in the car, coming down the street, outside my house, like it all looked so different. But as soon as I got home and as soon as I had a bath and got into my pajamas, gifted by my girls, oh my god, I just feel loved. I feel like this has just made me realise who is important in my life, who cares, and what is also important in my life too. I feel so much more clear-headed now, like coming out of the other side of this, than I did even before I got poorly. Something like this has had to happen to make me realise that I need to stop sweating the small stuff. This pandemic COVID has made me miss out on so many amazing work opportunities and my clients. Like, I've just missed it so much, and I was in a really dark place before I got COVID. Now everything's opening up. It's June 2021. Restrictions are easing. Work's picking up with a vengeance. Oh my god, things are looking good and it's very exciting, and I feel like I've got a purpose again. I just want to touch on, before I go, I know this has been a long video, and if you've made it this far, thank you. I just want to touch on my recovery, because obviously you wouldn't think I was literally on my deathbed like 2.5 weeks ago. And I've been working for the past week. When I first got out, I was in bed for probably 5 days, I would say. I went into hospital Saturday the 8th of May, and I was in hospital until the 18th, so 10 days. I got home on the 18th and I was in bed for 5 days, and then on the Sunday the 23rd I started pottering around the house doing a bit of painting, but it was taking me ages, but I felt capable-ish. So just to put it into perspective, I felt like a frail old lady, like going up and down the stairs. I was like holding onto the rail, coming from a body that's so capable and active and just like woo woo woo, to being like, wow, like I can't even walk. It took some getting used to, but it's crazy like how far I've come since then. So I stayed at my mum's for a couple of days, just took it easy. I went back to Manchester, started getting creative and doing content again and falling back in love with makeup, because honestly, before I got poorly, I totally fell out of love with makeup and Instagram, and I just felt so uninspired. But now it's like everybody needs a month off, because wow, my creative juices are flowing and I'm feeling really good. I'm loving all the content that I'm doing, and yeah, I just feel reinvented. My mum keeps joking and saying that it's literally like I've been to a health spa and not a hospital. Definitely didn't feel like that when I was in there. Really, I've not been out of hospital long at all, and I feel so much better. Like, everyone keeps messaging me like, how are you feeling? And I actually feel back to full health. I don't feel like I'm at the stage where I can go for a run yet. I still feel like out of breath if I go up and down the stairs a lot. I did go back to the gym actually last week as well. I just did weights machines really slowly on a really light weight. I have felt it ever since. I just want to let you know that if you have got COVID now, or if you are in hospital with COVID or something off the back of COVID, just know that you can recover and you can fight through it and you can be okay. Because God forbid, if I didn't go in to get checked out at the outpatients when I did, I wouldn't be here today. I've definitely got my boyfriend to thank for that. essentially he did save my life. I think as well, if I wasn't running as much as I was, I maybe wouldn't have recovered at all or as well. Definitely focus on yourself, get your fitness up, because it will help you if you ever get poorly. The end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has helped you put things into perspective, because as younger people with no health conditions, we kind of think, meh. Well, I didn't, but I've heard a lot of people with that attitude. As I've mentioned, I am a fit and healthy 28-year-old with no underlying health conditions. The fact that this has happened to me is scary. It's very rare, so don't panic. If you do have it, definitely buy yourself a finger monitor just to keep an eye on your stats, but don't become obsessed like I did. Ring 111 if you do feel particularly unwell. They will guide you through advice, and if you can get an appointment, go and get your stats checked. I hope this video has informed you enough about my experience. I literally could sit here and waffle all day. It probably feels like I have to you. I'm sorry if this has been a long video, but I just felt like I needed to get it off my chest. I needed to say it once and for all, because really I don't want to be defined as this. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was scary for my whole family. Like, everyone thought I was gonna die, and the fact that I'm out of the other side like this, like chirpy and stuff now, is just like actually unbelievable even to me. Yeah, I'm not really gonna speak about it again. Obviously, if you've got questions, I'll answer them, but I just wanted to get it all out on a video. Yeah, hopefully it's answered some questions that you had about COVID as well. Please like, subscribe and comment, you know the drill. Thank you so much for watching. Honestly, I appreciate it so much. See you soon for an upbeat makeup tutorial. Bye bye.